So we are going to do the raised bed out of pallets first. It's been a couple of days since I did the introduction. Yesterday it was blowing a complete hoolie, 50-60k wind, so you can't do filming in that, it's too noisy on the mic. And today is a beautiful, sunny, but frankly bloody freezing day in Nova Scotia. So it's going to be a bit tricky for me to finish this video because the earth is frozen. It was -7 last night, +9 yesterday, -7 last night. What's all that about? Anyway, so we're going to do the raised bed one first. Pretty easy to raise bed really, once you've set it up. So the first thing you want to do when we're making a raised bed out of pallets is to choose the pallets. Now, can we see this? See the sign on there? And the signs I'm just about to show you on the screen. When we're choosing the pallets, we want to choose heat treated or kiln dried pallets, because that means they haven't got chemicals on them. Obviously when you choose a pallet, you want to make sure you can try and find, you know, a relatively clean one, a relatively good condition one, just as long as it hasn't got loads of oil and all that sort of stuff. But make sure that HT or kiln or KD initials are on there, and that's that. Usually there's something like 4 foot by 3 foot or something like that, pallets are. It doesn't really matter. What I've done here with this one, I'm making this just about 2 foot high, and that's to match in, excuse me, match in with this raised bed here that's on the sides of my greenhouse. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pallet together, just connect all the pallets together, give it that general rigidity to the size I want. Then I'm going to face it, then I'm going to put a top of basically that's, what is it, 5-inch wide decking. So all I've got is some that was some old deck planks there, so I'm going to use those to put across the top, and that gives it an extra bit of rigidity. And then where I've got connections along the sides of the actual pallets there, I'm going to fix in some sort of pieces of wood to join them as well as the screws in between. We'll come to all that. Just because the weight of the earth, that's quite a high bed, 2 foot high, the weight of the earth will tend to push the wood out otherwise. So all these different things, bits of scrap wood, will help keep the rigidity of it. And that is really, and then I'm going to face it with this cedar siding. This cost me for a bundle about $24, I think, something like that, and that does all of that. In fact, that did all of that side there, so quite a bit. It should, or maybe two bundles will do this. So I should be able to make this bed for under, I don't know, under $60, under $50, which is pretty good for a big high bed like that. Wind's getting up again. So a couple of things before we start. Obviously you want to measure out your area, how many pallets you got. I've cut these pallets down in half mostly, so that I've got the 2 foot high bit. A circular saw is normally the best sort of bit of kit for that, and then finish it off with a handsaw. Pretty easy. And even actually, this one is just a few bits of scrap that I've used and put it together myself. So I made a pallet out of a pallet. Worked that one out. But yeah, to make myself the exact size I wanted, because I didn't have any left sort of this size, I just add a load of scrap bits, put that together. Job's a good one. So there we go. Make sure your ground is nice and flat. I've got a bit tricky here. It goes up a bit. I've got a bit of a hill here, and I was hoping to dig the channel out, but obviously -7 last night, everything's frozen, so I don't know how I'm going to get around that. I might just sort of half put the pallet together to show you how it looks. So that's us to start. I'll be showing you, once I put the pallet together, the raised bed together, I'll be showing you what I fill it with, because I normally have lots of different bits and bobs, because that's a lot, you know, 2 foot high. That's quite a lot of earth I'd have to put in if I just used compost, etc. But I'll be using lots of different things to sort of fill it up, and then doing a final layer of compost, and that should work. So let's take it that you have decided how big you want your raised bed to be, whether it be the 4 foot by 6 foot of the bed that I'm going to be using for beginner's guide garden, or this one here, which is like just over 10 foot by just over 3 foot. Now the height, like I said, mine's 2 foot high. Yours doesn't have to be. My other beds on the traditional part of my garden are about 1 foot high. That's about the minimum you want to go, because remember, if you want to be growing carrots and things like that, the root crops, they like a nice deep bit, and about 1 foot is about the minimum you want to go. So whatever it is, if it's 1 foot for this pallet one, just cut it 1 foot high. So all that's decided what the dimensions are, you've decided just about where you're going to put it. You don't have to do that right this second, but it'd be a good idea. The easiest thing to do first is to put the ends together, and this is pretty, you know, it's all pretty much done for you. Just make sure you line up the 2 ends for the height, so that when we put our top piece on, it's not all bumpy, etc. So we'll line it up and then pre-drill the holes in the side here. I'm using 3-inch deck screws, so I'm going to pre-drill, because this hardwood has got it'll often split if you try and put a big screw in without pre-drilling the hole. Well, I've only got 1 battery, so I have to split between my drill and my screwdriver. So let's pre-drill a couple of holes. Now you only need that in the first piece, not in the second piece, not in the side. Beautiful, look at that, nice and stiff already. Right, I shall carry on and do this other side, then I'll come back to you. There we go, look, there's the corners done already. See, that's the good thing about pallets, is when once you've cut them into your position, it's just like having a kit really, because you've got all the blocks on the side, and that is nice and sturdy now. So I'm going to do the other side, and then we should be nearly there. The job's definitely a good one. Okay, so that is the back side done. Again, nice and sturdy. It's a bit wonky in a moment because that's the earth underneath is not flat, and I'll be sorting that out later. So just the sides to do now. That'll take me another 5 minutes. Do you know, I had a break earlier, went for a walk down the beach. As you can see, it looks fairly tropical, doesn't it? Absolutely Baltic. The wind has hopefully gone off now for a bit, so it might warm up a little bit, but absolutely freezing it was. I'm glad to be coming back to do a bit of work. Anyway, let's get these sides done, and then I can show you how I'm going to finish it with the cedar, etc. So again, nothing particularly complicated about this. I've just clamped this side to this side, make sure it's nice and level with the two there, pre-drill a couple of holes, put the screws in. Job's a good one. Definite need of getting another battery pack, I know that. There we are. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to put a bit of bracing across this bit here, just to give it that extra bit of strength, and also when I put the top on here, that will really tighten things up as well, which I'll show you. On to the other bit. Okay, that's all four sides done, nice and secure already, and as you can see it's fairly square. Happy with that. It went together relatively easy, really. Like I said, it's just like a kit. So what I've got to do now is face the front with some cedar. I'm not going to finish it all today. What I'm going to do, because I haven't got all the wood either, what I'm going to do is face off this front bit and a bit of the side and show you how this top has got to just overhang slightly. In fact, I'll put this on after I've done these, and then what will happen is this should just overhang slightly so that any water comes down and falls down the shingles rather than behind it, etc. Right, so what we're going to do is we've got these cedar shingles, thick side at the bottom because it's like tapered, so thick side at the bottom. And then I'm going to bung a couple of nails in. Obviously we want it nice and straight as possible. Bung a couple of nails in about halfway up. And what will happen is the next one will go on top, and again what I'm going to do is put the bottom row in first, but what I'm showing you is the next one will go on top, and then I'll probably have another layer on top of that, and we'll cut them off flush there, and then that, all the rain will just go down and that'll hold the earth in, etc., and it will look good as well. So I'm going to go on a little bit, and then I'll come back about halfway and show you how I'm getting on. Okay, so I'm not sure what time it is, but I've had enough. I'm freezing cold. I forgot how long this takes, which is one of the downsides obviously of putting siding on, but I like the look, I like the cottage look, but it's taking a bit of time, and like I said, I'm cold. And my battery's run out, so I can't chop that off. I'll come back tomorrow and get cracking again, and we'll see the results then. So sorry this video is not out on the Sunday like I wanted to, but such is life, and I want to go and spend a bit of time with my boy as well. So see you tomorrow. Okay, so it's Monday evening now. My wedding anniversary today, 13 years married to the wonderful Mrs. F, Sarah. So celebrations, and a wonderful 13 years it's been too. Anyway, back to the job in hand. So I put in this side now of shingles all the way along, and I've cut this piece of wood here, so the corner, as you can see, I've got a corner here. I'm not very good at corners, but there you go. And I've had to match it in with sort of, this line here goes to my greenhouse raised bed, and this line here goes, so it's all matched in. So what I'm going to do now is screw this down. So I've just got that lip hanging over the top there, like I said, so that any rain comes down, goes over and rains off down there, so it protects slightly the pallets on the inside. Now I'm going to carry on down this side the long job of putting these in. So progress has been made. Better carry on, haven't I? Hello. So we're all done. It's taken me a bit longer than I anticipated. I'd like to have had this done last weekend, and it's now Wednesday, but we've had a bit of inclement weather, as you can see from the film there. A nice little bit of snow, and we're actually going to have another 5 to 10 centimetres tomorrow. But today has been an absolutely gorgeous day to have a day off and finish this. So as you can see, I have lined all the sides with the cedar siding, 3 layers up to match my greenhouse, and then I've topped it off with some deck boards. As usual, my corners were not very good, so I had to do a bit of modifications there, but I don't mind. If it was a client, then I'd be obviously trying to make sure that's absolutely perfect, but for my place I'm quite happy the way it is. I've lined it with plastic, so that'll give the actual pallets themselves a bit of protection, and these on the outside will obviously give them some protection, and then this deck board that I've put on just coming out a little bit, so that any rain will come down and not go on the inside. Hopefully will just slide down there. You'll say, well, all that siding, that took you ages. It took me about a day to do the whole all the way around. You know, that's with plentiful cups of tea and a nice lunch. But you could have, if you can't get hold of this sort of siding, and you know this is not what you want, and you want to do it on the cheap, you could use, you know, take apart a pallet and face it off, obviously with a cleaner pallet, face it off with a load of pallet boards, nice hardwood, they'll last a long time, so they could go all the way down. Or this 5x1 wood, get a load of this. This is pretty cheap. This is like $3 or $4 a pop. You can either have it upwards or horizontal like this. This wouldn't cost you much. The cedar siding actually cost me about $40 altogether, maybe. No, I'll say $35, because this was about a bundle and a bit, and each bundle cost me $21.99 plus tax. But you know, there are different ways you could have faced them off. The deck boards cost me $8 for a 10-foot length. So you know, there's a couple, say 3 10-foot lengths, so that's $24 plus the side. So this has probably cost me about $60 to put together, which if you were doing it with normal wood, etc., that's going to cost you quite a bit more for this size. So I'm pretty happy with the price of it. Now I've got to fill it up, haven't I? There's a lot of space to fill up there, 2 foot high, 10 foot long, etc. So how am I going to fill it up without using loads and loads of barrels of earth? Well, I sort of pinch a bit of the old Hugel culture technique, where first of all, actually, I put cardboard in the bottom. I haven't really got to worry about weeds coming up because it's so deep, but might as well use it. This will break down nicely. So I've lined the bottom with cardboard, as you can see, and then first thing I'm going to do is get a load of logs, leaves, branches, all of that. Gonna get a good load of that all the way along the bottom. I've got a barrow there, and I've got loads of logs, etc. I've got my kitchen scraps, they're going in. Might as well. Even the paper bag, that could go in. My next thing that I use, because I'm lucky that way, is seaweed. I've got about 10 bags of that back there. Ethan and I spent the half an hour the other day down the beach getting a load of bags worth. My next thing is manure. I haven't got any because I haven't had a chance to go down the stables to get some, but I'm going to probably put a good 5, 6, 7, 8 bags of manure in there. What else? More seaweed probably, and then the final, probably that much, is going to be compost, and I'll get that up to the sort of just about the top. Now the thing is, all of that stuff I put in, all of that organic material is going to rot down. This is going to be a bit of a hotbed for a while, which is fine by me, but it will sink a good half. So then I'll have to top it up with compost and leaf mould, etc., that I've got back there, but at this time of year it's all frozen. So that's what I'm going to do to fill it up, and later on in the series you'll obviously see it filled up because I'll be putting tomatoes and peppers in there. So that is my raised bed made out of pallets. I'm pretty pleased with it. Looks good. That's going to do the job. And on to next is the raised bed made out of normal sawn timber, and I'll be doing that in the next video. So job's a good one, happy with that. I'm going to hunker down and ready for the snow tomorrow. See you later.